What's the smoothest pickup line you've heard? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. I worked retail when I was younger, and I was up there on my day off buying something. Well, the younger sister of one of my coworkers was there, and we somehow congregated around with a manager. And he made a comment about you can punch in and work, and she, without missing a beat, was like, "He can't, we're going out for ice cream." I had never even met her before, but we went out for ice cream and dated for a few years till she cheated on me. It was still pretty smooth. Story 2. I did an accidental one once. It was a time in college where I was doing a lot of Latin, and I met a girl at like a one-off lecture event. She said, "Hi, my name's Amanda," and I said, "Oh, cool." In Latin, that means the girl to be loved. Then she kinda giggled, but I wasn't trying to give her a pickup line. I was trying to give her a Latin fact. Reminds me of the time when my uncle and his wife were calling their son a mule. And I innocently said, "You know, a mule is the offspring of a horse and a donkey." And all I heard back was silence for a few seconds. Then his wife snapped, "I am not a donkey." My cousin burst out laughing. Funnier that I didn't mean to insult them, it was just the worst possible moment to share a fun fact, but it served them well. Next time they will think before calling their kids any names. Story 3. I had a really cute girl come up to me once and say, "Hey, I was wondering if you could see yourself in me later?" Me caught off guard completely. I don't know, maybe because I'm so smooth myself. Then she pulls off her wig and pretends to polish her completely bald head with her sleeve and bending down to present the top of her head to me. How about now? It turns out that she had alopecia, so she just tried to make the best of it. We dated almost a year. Pickup line: smooth. Delivery: smooth. Head: also smooth. Story 4. I wouldn't call this smooth, more effective. I used to smile at a cute guy across the bar and then mouth "come here" while waving him over. The adorable me? Looks they used to get on their faces were priceless. They could be smooth as they wanted afterward, but they always gave away any cool demeanor they tried to have with the initial utter shock. I'd like to also clarify that I am not a supermodel. I think guys are just so not used to this kind of attention that it was deeply flattering. Story 5. Credit goes to my buddy. Smoothest not because of the line, but just the way he delivered it and the fact that it worked. We're at a very country bar playing pool. Sees a girl eyeing him. We pester him into approaching her. He has no interest in chasing girls on this night. He just wants to play pool. So he's gonna pick a bad line and deliver it out of character as he described. "Hey girl, nice boots, wanna f***?" They've been happily married 8 years now. Story 6. I was at a presentation by a certain committee of my state. After 2 hours or so, we went to a break, and I asked this gorgeous, lovely lady for a light while we were smoking. She lends me her fire, and we stand there for about 30 seconds after I say thanks. Cars go by, the sun is blinding, we are awkwardly looking everywhere but at each other. And I say this whole presentation made me realize I don't ever want to come here again, and she just smiled and covered her face a little, like she knew she shouldn't laugh. I said, "I'm gonna walk over to Azteca, would you like to come?" And she did, and we had a blast. She came over that night, we had great. I saw her one other time after, but then we went our separate ways. Still a great experience though. Big, bright, dorky smile. Seriously, one of the prettiest smiles I have ever seen. Just seeing it lit up the room. Story 7. I was once on a bus trip sitting crammed in next to a guy who had a bit of a crush on. Moving around and getting situated, he accidentally grabbed my thigh. He apologized and made it really clear he hadn't done it on purpose. And I did the normal social, "Hey cool man, no problem, we're all stuck in here" response. He then said, "Oh great," grinned like the devil himself, and quietly muttered just loud enough that I wasn't sure if I was supposed to hear it, because that's for later. Married 20 plus years, he still grins like the devil. Story 8. Gods, I was about 23 and 280 lbs, some muscle but definitely fat. A few female friends had asked me to come along as they hit a few clubs, as most guys would leave them alone if I was dancing with them. Cue a woman who was probably my age, fishnet bodysuit and masking tape covering her nipples, drop dead gorgeous. I was not covert in my taking in everything I was seeing when she asked me. In a fit of ingenuity I'm sure used up the rest of the luck in life, I replied, "You gonna eat that?" nodding towards her very exposed panties. Not really sure why the stars aligned, but rather than just brushing me off like any sane person, she smiled and said, "No, but you can have it." Story 9. I was volunteering for an outside festival like I do each year. Was setting up tables and chairs with this cute redhead. We did small talk and introduced ourselves. For the next 15 minutes she kept asking, "I think I know you from someplace," and goes down the list of areas she grew up in, people she hung around with, and other things she does. I just kept saying, "Sorry, I don't know or haven't been there." On the fourth question, I just looked her straight in the eyes and said, "No, sorry, I don't think we know each other before this. Would you like to get to know each other?" Her face turned the same shade of red. As we dated for about a year, and it was lots of fun memories. Story 10. When I moved into my college dorm freshman year, I put a dorky sign on my door that said, "Good pickup lines here." Being an international student, I thought it will be considered funny, and who knows, maybe I will finally experience those loads of they always seem to have in college movies. The very next day, I was woken up by 3 cheerleaders who were demanding a pickup line. Having just woken up, and partly due to embarrassment, I turned them back where they came from. A few days later, on a Friday evening, I was walking back from the cafeteria, carrying a lime I grabbed to use later on that night when I saw one of the 3 cheerleaders sitting on the wall in front. "Where is my pickup line?" she asked as I was approaching. "Here," I said as I threw the lime towards her. "This is my pickup line." We indeed had loads of I married her June 1st, we no longer do. Story 11. Summer camp romances were the best. See a cute girl during registration, make a comment about the camp food that evening at dinner, then sit near her at the campfire or whatever organized activity was that evening. Day 2, a friend of hers comes up and says, "Katie thinks you're cute," and I awkwardly say she does. By that evening, you're holding hands, she's wearing your hoodie, and you're on your way. Maybe a quick kiss as she heads up to her cabin and lights out. The rest of the week, you're sitting next to each other at any so-ed activity, maybe sneaking away at night to a secluded place to make out. She's been wearing your hoodie all week, and towards the end of camp, you start wondering how you're going to get it back before the last day. The last night, she's crying because she's going to miss you, and all you're thinking about is, how am I getting my hoodie back? You finally broach the subject, and she reluctantly gives you the hoodie back when you walk her back to her cabin on the last night, in exchange for your El Yehu Amasin screen name. The last day comes, and you completely ignore her except for a quick wave to avoid embarrassing inquiries from your parents when they're picking you up. You chat a bunch at the beginning, but it dies off around Thanksgiving. Next year comes, and she's back at camp. You could go up and say hi, but that other girl that just walked in is pretty cute too. Story 12. 30+ years ago, I was on a co-ed volleyball team. I became more friendly with one girl more than others. After games, the team often went for beers at a sports bar where we usually ended up sitting by each other. After several weeks of this, she explained to me that people were talking about how we are probably hooking up. I didn't know about this chatter, but in hindsight, it made sense. After one particular night moved along a little bit, and the beers were going down easier, the server came to us to see if we wanted another round. Before we answered, my hottie V ball girl put her hand on my thigh unexpectedly, and with a flirty grin gave me the line that I've repeated in this story many times since. She said, "Do you want to make a rumor come true?" Without hesitation, I looked to the waitress and said, "Check, please." It was a very good night. We were married in 1990. When I tell the story, I like to say that we were great teammates. Our favorite play went like this. I bumped. She said, I spiked the hell out of it, scoring big time. Story 13. On the receiving end, the following worked. "Can I have some of whatever is in that bottle you are holding?" Please note that at the time I was holding my own personal bottle of Parrot Bay, which I had brought from home like a respectful 63rd wheel to a house party. It was also a costume party for dancers. In addition to being a 63 R&D wheel, I am also not a dancer. Worked is generous though. We did end up getting married, and there was a 7-year gap between the first 3 almost entirely chase dates and the 4th, so it worked as a very, very long play. And then there is the fact that it took me a very long time to think about whether or not I wanted to share my own personal Parrot Bay with a stranger who was garbed in a fairy costume that consisted of cheap wings and lingerie atop a ballerina's physique. This is just one of 10,000 examples of why all those people who think I'm smart are clearly incorrect. Story 14. I work construction, part of a 3-man crew. We get over to client's house, whom we've done work before for her and her husband. Me and boss man step out of truck. She comes out to greet us. Now, the few jobs we've done for them have always been during the heat of the summer, so I work without a shirt on. Anyways, She comes out and after greeting us looks directly at me, who was wearing a jacket and beanie cause I had the chills that morning, and says, "It's so odd seeing you with a shirt. You should take it off." After blushing for a second, I said jokingly, "Ogres are like onions. There's layers," referencing removing the layers of clothes I had on. She slaps back with, "I love sauteed onions." My autistic brain still trying to process if she was flirting or not, but it made me feel good. Story 15. My wife, when she was young, used this one. She would never drink but go to nightclubs looking to pick up. She would observe the room and pick a guy she thought looked cute and hot. She would then watch him, and if she liked the way he acted, she would look at him until she caught his eye. Then once eye contact was established, if she felt a connection, she would look at the guy and use her finger to ask him to come here. Once he walked over to her, she would commence a conversation. If she thought things felt right, she would then ask the guy if he had ever had. If he answered no, she would offer to read his palm. Once she had his palm in her hand, she would use her left index finger to rub his palm whilst looking into his eyes. Again, if she felt energy between them, she would trace a line down his palm and say, "I can see you a brunette." She was a brunette later tonight. That usually closed the deal. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, early to mid-80s, I would talk to girls at parties and nightclubs, and again, I would pick the girl, and once I was fairly certain they were looking to hook up, or at least get I would say, "Would you like to see you ankles over your shoulders later tonight?" That either worked well, evoked a flirty laugh, or had them walk away. I don't think either of these approaches would work today, although my wife's move was way better than mine. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your those in the comment below.